Hey, welcome back to the How to Podcast series. It's Dave with you. I am bringing back one of my past episodes from my Daily Daves back in the day. And it's great content. It's something that I think still holds a lot of water for us as podcasters. And I just wanted to reintroduce it to you because there's a good chance you probably haven't gone back into my entire catalog. There's a lot of episodes. And I didn't want this one just to kind of get swept up into the archives of the internet. And nobody comes back to see them, so I wanted to bring it forward and share it because I think narrative podcasting might be one of the things that I don't hear a lot of people do and do well. A good example of one that's done really well is my podcasting buddy, Dave Beckmeyer. He has a podcast called Monetize This, and it is amazing. He takes like 40-minute interviews and chops them down to 15 minutes and gives you the best of the best, and it's a really interesting way of doing it. So, I'll leave a little clip from Dave's podcast as well here in the podcast so you can get a taste of his show. But, here's my retro rewind of a past episode. You'll hear a younger Dave. And hopefully I still sound cool after all these years. But here's a replay of a past episode. This is Narrative Podcasting, a different approach to interviewing. Podcastin, without the G. In the free world, you'll figure out what that means in a second. Thanks for being here. Thanks for pressing play. Welcome back to the How to Podcast series. It's Dave. One thing I wanted to kind of show you and talk to you about around the How to Podcast series is I'm trying to demonstrate for you as a podcaster all the different ways that you can podcast. You don't just have to do an interview show. You don't just have to do a solo episode show. You don't have to do a season. You don't have to do all these other things. You can play with your podcast and do different things at different times so that you have creativity and the ability to produce what you want, when you want, however you want. There's no rules in podcasting, people. There's just great suggestions. And what I'm hoping is you're learning a little bit about when you scroll through my back episodes about how things are happening around here and maybe pick up on, hey, I want to do a little mini series of 5 episodes within my regular podcast. Go ahead. Do it. Yeah. You want to jump in and do a short little episode, 5-10 minutes, to bring your audience up to date on something about your podcast or your life? Do it. If you want to do an interview show, do that. If you want to do a solo episode, great. Do you want to do a co-hosted episode? Bring on another podcaster to talk about your journey or an episode or a topic? Great. Do that as well. Co-hosting is awesome. There are many, many different ways to podcast. So I know early days you're going to plan your show and you're thinking, I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to be an interview podcast. But over time, solo episodes crop up, right? There's many ways to do this. So I wanted to share with you a different way to podcast that I, to this date, with over 1,000 episodes created, I've never done this before. But I had a great interview with an amazing guest, and the nature of our conversation in the recording didn't fit with how I would normally do an episode. So I redid the entire episode interview into a new format that I've heard other people do, and I enjoy it because it's different. And again, I wanted to share with you, it's episode 360 of Living the Next Chapter, my author podcast. Episode 360, I had on Bob Young. Now, who's Bob Young, Dave? If you've ever listened to music, if you've ever heard of Canada, and you put those two together, there's several great Canadian musicians that come to mind, but there's one that has been celebrated around the world, and his name is Neil Young. Neil Young, Rockin' in the Free World, on and on and on. Just a great musician, great Canadian musician, a talent from Ontario, Canada, where I live, and in a town where I've been to many, many times. Neil's an amazing artist, creative, and his older brother, Bob, came on my podcast to talk about his new book that he had written around a golfer named Moe Norman. Moe was a character in the golf world. He had the ability to shoot and hit a ball to a certain location over and over and over and over. Like he was a character. He could do things that made other people scratch their head in complete amazement and wonderment because they couldn't do what he could do. And he was the most unlikely golf hero ever. So Bob and Moe had a great friendship for many years, golfed together, and Bob came on my Living the Next Chapter podcast to talk about his new book. Now, when I recorded with Bob, we kind of like jumped right into the recording. I didn't even do an intro. I did none of that. We were just like, I had hit record and we just kind of just picked up the conversation where we were. Bob is a great storyteller. I was more of an audience member than a host, but I wanted to give framework to our conversation so that as a listener, not there in the moment, you still had context to our conversation. So what I did was I actually removed my track completely. So all I had was Bob and all of his answers to my questions, where I would ask a question when Bob would go on and talk about his answers and give some amazing context to his book. And then what I did is I kind of broke it up where I would cut and insert myself and ask a question about what was coming next from Bob that gave some context to the conversation. And it was kind of like, I've heard people describe this more like a magazine style episode. It basically what I'm doing is cutting it into segments and then re-recording my question after the fact so that it leads into the next part of the conversation. And it's interesting because my wife Jen listens to all of my episodes for Living the Next Chapter before they go live so that she can catch my little mistakes, my gaps, my things. She's great. She really helps a lot. The interesting thing she said at the end was it didn't even feel like a regular interview because it was so different. So I wanted to share with you and give you an alternative to a typical, air quote, interview podcast where you record the entire interview and then you go back later and then re-record your questions and insert your comments into the recording by cutting and editing. And here's a little sample of what it sounds like, and a link will be in the show notes so that you can go and check out the episode. If you love golf, if you love music, if you love Canada, and if you want to support a podcaster, then Living the Next Chapter, episode 360, will have the entire conversation with Bob. But here's a little snippet from here, and this will be examples of me recording my content after the fact and ditching my entire recording in the moment. And this is how I edited this episode, and I want to give you as an example that maybe this might be an alternative for you and your podcast to try. Hey, we're all experimenting. We're running with scissors. And here's my attempt at a more magazine style episode of Living the Next Chapter. Here's a little segment.
A line in it that says something like, "Hey, America, give love a chance. You're the beacon of freedom. Liberty free." The line, "set liberty free," strikes a harmonic in the mind of a U.S. citizen, especially somebody who's paying attention. And I don't know. We'll see what happens with it. Maybe nothing will happen. But if people started playing, it'd be interesting to see what. I mean, from my perspective, I'd never done a song before. That's it. One song.
So I asked Bob a little bit more about the song and how it came to be, and he gave us a little bit more information about the writing process of the song, and here's what his thoughts were.
It's in some respects, initially I thought it was sort of like a fluke that I did it because I saw something on television one day and wrote down I had a couple of lines in mind, and when I picked up my guitar, I discovered I could actually play it.
So that does feel different, right? That does feel different than a typical interview. And I'm curious, had I not told you that was me recording the questions after the interview's over, weeks later, listening back and then creating new questions, reframed, shortened questions, would you have even known My wife picked up on it right away because she knows how I do stuff. My question to you, did that feel like a remixed, redone episode? What do you think? I'd love to get your feedback and your thoughts. Would that be something you'd be interested in doing in your show? Is that too much work for editing? Your thoughts would be great. I'd love to hear your thoughts over at howtopodcast.ca. And again, I'm telling you, and I'm trying to help everybody understand, this is your show. You can practice and play and do whatever you want with your podcast. And feel creative. Feel like and understand there's no restrictions on how you do what you do. If you need help with your podcast, you need some inspiration, you need someone to listen to your show or give you feedback or help you learn how to interview, help you to learn Audacity, help you to learn how to use Canva. You're looking for someone to help you. I would love to be that person for you at howtopodcast.ca. Let's get together. Calendar invites right there on the website. Jump in my calendar, pick a time slot. Let's get together and talk about your podcast and answer questions. And as well, through howtopodcast.ca is our link to our meetup group where you can meet outstanding podcasters who love to support you and be there in your corner. Come and join our regular meetups, and the link for that as well on howtopodcast.ca. Thanks for checking this out. Again, head over to Living the Next Chapter, episode 360. If you love golf and music and all that, check out my great interview with Bob Young, Neil Young's older brother, on Living the Next Chapter. Thanks for being here. Take care. Get out there, podcast, and send me a link so I can listen to your show. I love your shows. Take care. So like I mentioned, I was going to give you a little clip from Dave's Monetize This podcast. It is such a cool show. I am so jealous. I love this show. It takes shots at all those gurus out there who want to sell you something. And there's a lot of them in podcasting. There's sharks in the water, everybody. And Dave is taking a satirical look at the podcasting industrial complex, the business behind podcasting, and all these greedy people with their hands out trying to take money out of your wallet. So he brings on people and we debunk some of the more common guru stuff that happens in podcasting. It's a great show. But here's a version of Dave's where you can kind of hear that narrative style podcasting. And it's a great example of this. So if you want to do this for your show, reach out to Dave. He can explain to you how he does what he does. You can meet him at our meetups, which is fun. You can actually meet him virtually. We do this twice a week. He's a great contributor to our meetup group. So if you want to meet him, come on over to our meetup group. That's an easy way. You can reach out to him directly through his Monetize This podcast, links in the show notes. Or you and I can sit together and we can talk through how you can edit your show. That requires editing for you podcasters out there who think that editing is a waste of time. You won't be able to do this kind of podcast because it's kind of in how it's edited. So you can move along. For those of us like me who actually do edit because I care, then yeah, this could be an alternative for a typical interview that everybody does on Zoom, on Riverside, and it's just the same thing everywhere. This might be a great alternative for you. So think about this for your show. And here's a little clip from Dave's podcast, Monetize This. And he has Alex Sanfilippo on the show. Here's a little taste.
I don't think a listener is seeing that and being like, ooh, it's a top 1% show. I should definitely listen. We just do that for us, right? Like we do that for us as podcasters. I think that when you lead with like, hey, I'm a top 1% podcaster, it really shows a bit of an ego being involved in the process versus, hey, I'm here to serve. Because that isn't really a credibility factor. So like I always tell people like, hey, like if you need to keep that in there, like you need it, right? You got to have that pat in the back, put it at the end, start with the value that you add to somebody who's going to actually listen to your show. Like, so don't focus on that ranking even, because here's the thing, like my show is about podcasting. My show is never going to be a top 1% of anything. Like I'm not saying anything bad about me. The reality is there's just not enough people who will ever listen to my show. That's okay. I didn't make my show to be a top 1% podcaster. I made my show to serve a very small segment of people that say I'm a podcast guest or host that wants to go further faster, right? It's a few thousand people maybe that are ever like looking for that type of content. That's great with me. I don't want millions of listeners. There's not millions of people in my segment. And so I think that if we start getting into this like comparison game from the start, and so many podcasters immediately go to that for some reason, we start building this really bad dynamic inside of like, oh, I have to be this.
Maybe growth isn't as mechanical as we've been told. So what actually survives once the hype settles?
I think that the big thing is that the podcast that has a very narrow focus is going to be the one that does the best. That it's really like maybe a how-to type of thing, even if it's like a short season, like those would do really well. And then beyond that, it's going to be anything that's entertainment. I mean, people love entertainment, right? So like even if podcasting isn't mainstream, people love to be entertained through true crime, comedy, sports, any of that stuff, I think is going to do really, really well. And then beyond that, like I said, like the niche focused shows are going to do really good.
Again, all the links in the show notes. Thanks for being part of the show. We'll catch you tomorrow. And if you need any help with your podcast, howtopodcast.ca is where I am. And I'd love to have time with you. Reach out to me, howtopodcast.ca. Calendar is right there for you. You can get on my calendar anytime you want. And let's chat podcasting. Thanks for being here. Talk soon. Take care. So I get asked quite often, usually at the end of a podcast, like right now, Dave, how can we help you? Like, how can we as a listener, like, support the show? Can we come rake your leaves? Can we cut the grass? Shovel the snow? Watch your dog? Help you move? What can we do? Clean your dishes? Oh, that'd be interesting. Well, if you can't do that because, you're in Poland, maybe you can help us by supporting us with our Buy Me a Coffee. It's right there on our website. And, it just will help us to, A, stay fueled because, we drink a lot of coffee around here. And it helps the show. So if you want to help us, it's out of the goodness of your heart. I can tell you that listening to the podcast to this point, you've already helped us so much. But I do have people saying, Dave, I'd love to give back something small, even just to the show. Buy Me a Coffee link is on our website at howtopodcast.ca. And you can support the show that way. It would mean a lot to have you on our team supporting what we do here. If you find value in the show, then that's great. Share the show. Tell somebody about it. And when somebody says, Dave, I want to start a podcast, who should I check out? Oh, you should go check out the How to Podcast series because of all the great co-hosts and all the things that happen here, the meetups, everything. And I would appreciate that. And then fill our cup once in a while if you can. But again, thank you so much for being here and supporting the How to Podcast series. Take care. Talk soon. Great. You're still here? Awesome. Okay. So a question I have from podcasters when they meet with me and we're setting up their show is, Dave, what podcast hosting sites do you recommend? I recommend hosting sites that I use. So that's my caveat. There are a bunch of them that I don't use, so I don't recommend them because I've never had a working relationship with them. They might be the best podcasting host ever, and I just haven't used them yet. So that's no shade on them at all. But I do use 3 different hosting sites right now. I'm using Captivate.fm, I'm using Buzzsprout, and I'm using Spotify for Creators. I'm using 3 different ones because I want to get a taste of the experience as a user. If somebody decides to go with any one of those 3, then awesome. I have affiliate links you can use. You can use my link and you can get some bonus back for using my link and all of that. It does, anytime you use my link, it does help my show, which I appreciate. Those links, again, will be in the show notes as well. But those are the 3 that I use. Captivate I like because you can have multiple different podcasts. So you can have a podcast for your gardening show. You can have a podcast for your dad podcast. You can have your podcast for your author podcast, all with separate podcast feeds, all under one plan. It's great. They've also added video if that's where you want to go. For an additional fee, you can pay for video per show. That's Captivate.fm. Links in the show notes. Buzzsprout is my Living the Next Chapter podcast. That's where that's been since day one. And I love it. Good team. They have the Buzzcast podcast, which is really good. You should go check that out. And there's a lot of great resources and tools. Super nice people there. They're based in Florida, Captivate based in the UK. And yeah, check them out. So that's another one. A link in the show notes if you want to try Buzzsprout. They have a 90-day free plan. And then after 90 days, if you don't sign up, they start deleting your episodes. So it's kind of an onboarding thing to give it a try. For now, that plan's available. AI might screw that up in the future, but right now it's available. So Buzzsprout is one that I like as well. The third one would be Spotify for creators. Why do I like it? It's totally free. It used to be called Anchor, and then it became Spotify for podcasters. Now it's Spotify for creators. They just keep renaming it. And I started with them early in my podcast journey. And if you do not have money to put into a hosting site every month, because a lot of people don't. In podcasting, we do this in the margins of life. We have groceries and children and car payments and gas and rent and mortgage. We have all these things to pay for, and another bill on top of that ongoing just isn't in people's cards right now. And if there wasn't a free version like Spotify, there might be a lot of podcast voices we would never hear from. So people are going to put them down as a terrible thing, and everyone hates Spotify. I actually use Spotify as a listener. I love that I get my music and my podcasts all in one place. They have video podcasts. They have music videos. They have like yoga classes video on Spotify. Like they're really trying to push into video, and I applaud them for it. Anything they can do to be a challenge to YouTube. If YouTube goes unchallenged, then YouTube can do whatever the heck they want. So nice to see somebody else trying. Apple's lagging behind as usual, but Spotify's doing some great things. So I know people don't really like Spotify for some reason, but for me, they're fine. And that's my free plan. So if you want to sign up with Captivate and Buzzsprout, affiliate links in the show notes. Spotify's free, so I don't have an affiliate link for you. But those would be my three because I use them. That's my only caveat. So if you use a different one, let me know. Why do you like it? What do you like about it? How has your experience been? You can reach out to me at howtopodcast.ca. Maybe I'll bring you on as a guest co-host. That would be great. I'd love to have you on anyway. And you can talk about your hosting site and why you like them. The more people we have on and the more we can talk about podcasting and tools and hosting sites and all that, the better. howtopodcast.ca. Thanks for being here. Take care.